Welcome to another episode of My Jane, My Stories, the only show that enables women to share their own secrets and insights to wellness, one story at a time. With the woman who brings it all together through their site, My Jane, we want to welcome the founder and CEO, Kim Kovacs. Hey, Kim.
How you doing, Paul?
I'm doing good. I'm always anxious. This is a new series for us here, and I'm so intrigued at the idea of women telling their own stories. And I know you have somebody here who claims they've never shared it in this way before, so publicly. So,
really excited to be speaking with Ashley today. But before we get started, I just wanted to do a little quick recap about My Jane. So our company is about women helping women feel better. And we do that by curating cannabis products for you and the specific condition you're looking to solve, like a great night's sleep. We just had a great sleep event this last weekend, and we had a bed. We had a bed inside of a dispensary. It was pretty fun. But beside that, we had Dr. Ross, and that's where I got a chance to meet Ashley as well. So I'm going to introduce her in just a second. So we want to be here as your personal cannabis navigator, and that's what kind of My Jane's all about. It's about women helping each other. It's being able to try cannabis products that work for you in different ways. Could it be sleep? It could be pain relief? Could it be anxiety and stress? And what we started here with My Jane, My Story is to be able to share stories so that women can relate. Because we don't have a lot of, FDA approval around these products and a lot of, testimonials or case studies. It's really about the sharing of these experiences and how we've all used these before and how it could help somebody else. And so, as I said, our mission here is for women to help each other and just feel better and to kind of own our own wellness. And I can't tell you how excited I am to have Ashley Manning here and in sharing her story with us today. So welcome, Ashley.
Thank you for having me, Kim.
Oh, it's such a pleasure. You're up here from San Diego, is that right?
I am.
So is that where you're from originally?
Pittsburgh, actually, Pennsylvania.
Oh, my goodness. So a little bit of a transplant. Well, I'm from Ann Arbor, Michigan.
Oh, wow.
Paul's also from the Midwest. So you're in good hands here.
Oddly enough, I lived in both of those places. I went to school in Ann Arbor, and as a kid, we lived for a couple of years in Bethel Park outside of Pittsburgh.
Oh, nice. I grew up just 5 minutes from Bethel Park, actually, in Penn Hills.
So we're all just, one old tribe here together.
Doing a little kumbaya.
Sit around the fireplace and swap stories.
That's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to sit around. Instead of a little bit of a fireplace, we got a really nice day here in Orange County. So hope everybody's enjoying it as well. So Ashley, I'd like to hear about your journey. So we're talking about cannabis, we're talking about women's wellness. So why don't you tell us a little bit about you and, why you're sitting here today and a little bit about your story.
Well, my cannabis story actually has developed from a personal one to a professional one. And I'd love to share the personal aspect of my cannabis journey right now.
Okay.
And it all started being born with juvenile rheumatoid arthritis, which has led to years and years of medications, treatments, trials, injections, different medications, chemotherapy. At the age of 12, I became severely depressed and attempted suicide for the first time by loading a shotgun. And was very, very scared, knew something wasn't right. So I got help. And was, again, put on more pharmaceuticals. That began my journey.
Oh, my gosh. That must have been something. I mean, what about your parents? How did they, did they know what to do for you? I mean, it's got to be tough, huh?
They didn't.
Yeah.
They didn't know what to do. They were just as sad as I was, not being able to help their child get through something that nobody had answers for.
Right.
Chronic conditions, whether it's pain or traumatic, do suffer mentally and have an impact. And I started to see that impact at the age of 12.
Wow.
So then it's led into 17 years of pharmaceuticals, try this, try that, try this treatment, this therapy. Nobody ever talked to me about diet, exercise, meditation, just overall mind, body, and spirit. And I did my own research on how I can overcome what I was going through.
Yeah, wow. So the age of 12 all the way through. So how did you get through some of that? And then tell me about how you got through and found sort of cannabis. You were mentioning sort of CBD, at least to start with.
So I knew that I needed to come off these medications. My wife was telling me, you need to off these pills. Maybe they're making you worse. You know, you have these mysterious illnesses and nobody knows why. And so I started looking into CBD, and I decided that I would try CBD only products because I didn't want to get high, and I just wanted to see what it felt like. So after probably 5-6 days, I started sleeping better. This is great. I've never had a good night's sleep ever.
Isn't that amazing?
It was right? Great. So something had to be there. I knew at the time, I don't know what, but I'm going to find out what it is.
Now, did you talk to your doctors about the fact that you're taking CBD at the time, or in
No.
conjunction with? Okay.
No, I did not.
Yeah.
At that time, I was not open with my doctors about what I was doing.
Yeah.
And I was in the interim. I've been working in the emergency room at UCSD, and so that's my background, is working in healthcare, or well, I'm sorry, sick care, as I called it earlier.
Yeah.
So in seeing the rotation of patients come in, just get sicker and sicker and sicker, and me seeing myself get better and better. CBD only is working. Well, there's obviously more to it than just CBD.
Now, where were you getting your products from? Were you finding them? Because this was probably a few years ago, prior to, sort of, full legalization in California for adult use and things like that. So, were you making your own products, or were you finding them in different places, or?
That's a good question. I ended up talking to my friend who is well-versed in the industry. And she said, here's CBD only products. And she just gave me isolate. And she's like, you just mix it with different things and essential oils and make your own tasteful CBD. And so that's when I started sleeping better.
Oh my gosh.
And so I asked her, how do I get into this industry? And she said, start at the plant, find an internship somewhere that'll take you. And I said, I don't have any background, no degree. What am I going to do in the industry? So I became an intern at Alco, where it's fully integrated facility where I learned how to cultivate and sort of learned almost the whole manufacturing process by being there, starting from the plant, starting from the seed, all the way to drying, processing, to the after post-process, to edibles or tinctures, and then the distribution channel as well, and the lab testing. And so I gained knowledge of the whole process of the plant by working there. And while I was working there, I was approached by a company to open up a CBD retail store in La Jolla, San Diego. And
La Jolla, as we said, which was,
the wealthiest city in the country.
Yeah.
And someone who has no sales background, no retail, nothing. This company knew my knowledge of what I was learning and trying to accomplish, and that my passion would be able to take me further than a degree or experience in sales. So I started from a ground floor of opening up a franchise in La Jolla. And after learning more about the plant, I still wasn't as passionate about it. I'm like, I believe in the whole plant. I see how just CBD only is helping people, but now my knowledge is so vast on the entire cannabis plant. There's I believe it's 140 different cannabinoids in the cannabis plant.
Right.
So that alone means there's more to it. So, and there's a reason that plant has all those molecules.
So talking about those customers that were coming into that store that you had, I mean, how were you advertising? Was it word of mouth? Was it knock, knock on the back of the door in an alley? I mean, how did you, represent that company? And did you have like a storefront with a sign, or how did that work?
Well, we did have a storefront. And we were on the corner of Wall and Girard Street, right in the middle of La Jolla. So walking traffic, foot traffic saw us. It was very organic, how we were promoting. We weren't doing any social media. It was just natural. Customers coming in, engaging with them, educating them about the endocannabinoid system and cannabis.
Right.
But I was never talking about the whole plant. I was
Right.
only talking about CBD.
Right.
And it's phenomenal for cosmetic products. If you're going to use it for anti-aging, it's a neuroprotectant. That's what the federal patent is on CBD. Anti-aging, hello.
Yeah, exactly.
Under eye cream, crow's feet go away.
Hey, at 52, I definitely need some of that under eye cream now, let me tell you. But, it's fascinating because, I mean, even with that and just doing, an isolate product like that and just doing CBD and not the whole plant, but having that level of education, I mean, that's one of the things that we found is people just want to know more.
Right.
They want to explore these options and to talk to somebody. Right. So that's amazing. Good for you for
Thank
getting
you.
that started too, right? And quite an interesting place to do it in.
I ended up walking away from that position just because I know what my beliefs were, and it wasn't 100% there. And so I decided to, you know what, I'm going to go hardcore into the cannabis industry. Started working for a delivery service. We were medical only at the time, and I thought we were a legal company. They gave me papers to give the police if we got pulled over. I brought on nurses to our staff to help consult with some of our patients, only the medical side. And they gave me attorney letters to say that we're a legal company. I believed it because I was naive at the time. And we ended up getting raided about 3 weeks later.
Well, that's a short stint.
Yes. So I ended up with 2 misdemeanors on my record.
Oh, no.
The next day I started, so some of all the pharmaceuticals I was on, I was going through this bout of depression. I'm going to actually rewind maybe a few months prior.
Go for it.
About a few months prior to me working at the delivery service, I was out with some friends. And when I was out with friends, next thing I remember waking up and I am being filmed while being sodomized and raped. And I knew how to safely get out of that situation, which I did. And then I ended up having PTSD pretty bad.
Oh my God.
While working in the hospital. So that was kind of right before my cultivation experience. And I was able to use my knowledge of what I was learning with CBD to help take myself off even more pharmaceuticals I was prescribed. I did prolonged exposure therapy to help combat the trauma. And
could you explain that a little bit? I'm not too familiar with it, but what is that therapy?
Prolonged exposure is when you relive the event over and over and over. We did 3 sessions a week at 2 hours, reliving it start to finish over and over, repeat over and over until your brain processes it and files it as a memory. But in that time frame, you're dealing with nightmares, you're really living the trauma, so it gets worse before it gets better.
Oh my God.
So what did I use? I used CBD, and I knew it wasn't enough, so then I incorporated the whole plant. And started finding my symptoms were going away slowly, and I'm like, well, maybe it's just a therapy. And then I'm like, no, this is the cannabis, because once therapy stopped, I started using more cannabis, and was able to take myself off all my prescription drugs.
All of them?
Slowly. It was a 16-month process, but I tapered myself off milligram by milligram every other week. My doctors knew what I was doing at that time. I told them I was using cannabis. And not smoking. I tried edibles because smoking only got me so far. And so when I incorporated edibles, all it took was one bad experience, which I learned dosing really quick.
I think we've all, or at least a lot of people have had those bad experiences with edibles. But I mean, I got to commend you. I mean, look at the strength that you have in going through all these different things and these challenges. I mean, not even going to call it a challenge. It's really a lot of tragedy, that you've been able to, overcome and, work through and sort of, I don't want to say the power of cannabis, but in reality, that's what it is. It empowered you to take that ownness and own your own journey now. And not let it be defined by somebody else. Who was trying to do that to you 100%. And take that from you,
My doctors, I was really happy that my doctors they couldn't support me, but they were there for me.
That's amazing.
So I think
I wish I could give them a shout out by name, but that's probably not a good idea. But we're hearing a lot of these stories of doctors who are not officially but unofficially supporting because they are seeing these results. Right, Ashley? I mean, look at this. I mean, so you've tapered off all of these medications. So talk to me about kind of cold turkey versus tapering, and then you said it took a while, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Cold turkey was not good. I want to say I felt like I was going through, I don't know what a heroin withdrawal feels like, but I'm going to assume that that's what it felt like just within the first few days.
From the prescriptions,
correct.
Right? Yeah.
Brain shocks, nausea, no appetite. I lost almost 20 pounds within 2-3 months. It was bad. So how did I treat those symptoms was with cannabis. So it was almost like as I was adding more cannabis, I was reducing my pharmaceuticals, and all of a sudden I'm feeling better. And now I've become more spiritual person as well.
Yeah.
I've never picked up a Bible in my life. I've always had the attitude that when I see him, I'll believe him. Well, I see him
You and
now.
I are a lot alike in that way. Yeah,
I see him now, though.
Yeah, do you?
Which is
Yeah.
amazing.
Well, I gotta say, someone or something is looking out for you for sure, right?
It's my father.
Yes. I see. You've got him on your neck right there. Yeah. Is that your dad, or is that both your parents?
That's
or?
my dad.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
3 things that mean the most to me are family, my health, so that's the cannabis leaf,
Yeah.
and then wealth, which is the HAMSA.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yes.
That's a good thing to wear every day.
For sure.
So you went through these horrific experiences. Cannabis you turned to. You're able to get off these prescriptions. So tell me about you now.
Oh, well, after learning everything that I did, it's developed into a sales career. I worked for an edible company who was one of the main products that helped me get off my pharmaceuticals and didn't understand what made them different than other products. I don't currently work for them anymore, but I asked the company what it makes your products different than these other edibles and these other beverages. And they said it's the whole plant infusion. And I
Right.
said, I knew it.
Yeah.
I knew it.
I knew it back then when I was doing CBD only. Yes.
And so, because
Yeah.
I was like, well,
Yeah.
here's this beverage. This is great. This lemonade or this coffee is great. What makes yours? And it's the whole plant. And I didn't. Then I started learning what terpenes meant, because I'm like, well, whole plant means there's terpenes. And then I started learning the difference in distillate. A lot of beverage and edible companies will use a distillate oil, which has removed the terpenes. Which is removing the whole plant.
Yeah.
And that's just for flavor. It's not that it's a bad product. It's just they don't want to ruin that lemonade. They don't want to ruin the gummy, the strawberry flavor. There's no strawberry terpene in cannabis.
Okay, well, let's get real. Most of what cannabis tastes like is not anything close to a strawberry.
Correct. So I was passionate about those products because I'm like, that's what 100% helped me. And so I became, I started out as a brand ambassador and then became their sales director of the company. We parted ways on good terms, and it's for the better.
Yeah, that's okay.
But I wanted to let you know what company they are. It's Therapy Tonics and
Okay.
Provisions.
Nice.
They have cannabis-infused coffees and teas. And was thinking about them for the My Jane box subscription.
Great.
I think
we'd
that'd be
love
great.
to take a look at that. Absolutely. Anybody who's had a good experience and, really stands by a product like that, absolutely. Because that's
Yes.
what we do is we curate, right?
Exactly.
And we try because it's personal, and as you said, you tried other things, whether it be smoking or different kinds of, tinctures or edibles or what have you. You've got to find that right combination.
And finding balance, you experiment. Take too much one night, take too little one day, find your balance. We all react differently.
Yeah.
And it's really finding what works best for you. And so I transitioned out of that position and was doing some events for a distribution company. I put it on about 6 bud tender bashes in San Diego.
Okay.
For all the bud tenders in San Diego. Which
You might have to explain what a bud tender is.
bud tender is just like we have bartenders in the bar.
Yeah.
A bud tender is bud,
Yes.
so flower.
Okay.
So the same thing as if you were to walk into a bar and order your drink, you go into a dispensary, you order your bud from the bud tender.
And these are people who are educated in the products that are in the dispensary.
We hope so.
Right? Yes,
we hope so. I'm working
Yeah.
to help
Yeah.
improve the education that the bud tenders have,
Yeah.
and how they're getting their education. And it really starts at the forefront of the dispensary owners and managers and starting to operate their business like a regular business anywhere else.
Yeah, well, we're seeing that sort of evolution, I would say,
Right.
Of the industry and really focusing now on that consumer and that consumer experience. I mean, that's really why we started My Jane,
Right.
is because, a year ago, that didn't exist and women wanted to try products, but, they were a little uncomfortable walking into a dispensary because the bud tender may not have known, enough about who they are and what conditions they have. And, they just didn't feel very comfortable.
Right.
So whatever we can do to help, bring that knowledge to the industry and educate and, really make that happen, that's great.
The bud
So-
tender bashes were
Yeah.
great for that because we were
Okay.
able to get products in
Yeah.
their hand
Okay.
for them to try, and then also educate them one-on-one versus the bud tenders never see the salespeople. They don't know anything about the products, to be honest, unless they're provided education. So best way to get that is let's get all the bud tenders together. We did them every single month leading up to Cannabis Wonderland in Vegas during
my
MJ
goodness.
BizCon. I don't know if you guys were there. But
I was at MJ BizCon, but I don't remember the Cannabis Wonderland. That sounds very interesting. It's very Alice in Wonderland-ish sounding.
100%. Cannabis Wonderland was an amazing event. I created the theme for Cannabis Wonderland. The company said, you're going to Vegas, put on a party for 2,000 people. We want everybody from MJ BizCon to come to this. I said, okay, yes, boss. And flew to Vegas and tried to think of a way to collaboratively get the right people in the room at the same time. And that was really the ultimate goal of Cannabis Wonderland, was to bring investors, bring brands, bring companies who really want to stand out, and let's talk business. Let's get business down to business as well. So all B2B, Cannabis Wonderland, and we do plan on doing that again this year as well.
Oh, fantastic! Good.
The founder of MJ BizCon said it was one of the largest and best events he's been to during MJ BizCon.
You know what, Ashley? I'm not surprised. For how motivated and how much energy you have, I'm not surprised that it's the best one. It's sort of like you're not going to do anything. I was going to say half-assed. Maybe I can do that. So to me, that's impressive.
Thank you.
Well, I'm definitely going to go to this next event at MJ BizCon for sure. So I want to make sure I get my invite in now, right?
You will.
Okay.
I had to pull on someone to help me execute that vision, though.
Yeah.
Because a few weeks before the event, I was let go from that company.
Oh.
So the event still happened, though, because I brought someone on to
Good.
help execute that. And we actually exceeded the goal of 2,000 people by 6,000 people.
Oh, my gosh.
Yes.
Wow. Okay. So I'm going to have you work on our next My Jane event, if you don't
Sounds
mind.
good. Which I'd love to see you guys get down into San Diego, which I had a
Yes.
great conversation yesterday with a dispensary regarding My Jane.
Fantastic.
So I'm excited.
Me too.
to collaborate.
Well, Ashley, the thing is, we can talk about all these great opportunities in cannabis and how women can use the product and, use it for their own wellness. And maybe even your story and sharing that today could help somebody.
I hope so.
Right? I mean,
hope
that's
so.
the goal, is for them to listen and to be empowered. But we also want to make sure that they get the right product. So going
Right.
into San Diego is important, hopefully within the next month. And then also San Francisco and somewhere inland. We'll be moving there too.
I'm excited.
So tell me what you're doing today.
So I've currently, I started as a business development manager for the National Association of Cannabis Businesses. And so we're a self-regulatory organization.
Yeah.
Most people are more familiar with organizations like the American Medical Association, the Association of Realtors. We are that, but for the cannabis industry.
Fantastic.
A good example of what we do is right now we know that hemp has 0 standards.
Right.
There's nobody regulating it. The only regulation is it has to be less than 0.3% THC.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's
There's
not much of a standard.
Right.
Yeah.
So our next set of standards that we're actually working on is the hemp standards.
Oh,
so
good.
we are taking input from industry experts all over, doctors, researchers, as well as manufacturers from the cannabis side of the industry, and bringing them on and adding those standards, adding additional standards on top of it, so the hemp industry can start becoming regulated.
Yeah.
And so we do that also for the cannabis market as well. We have lab standards. So, for example, one of our lab standards was nobody will have financial ties to our lab, to a lab that they're testing. That we know that's a huge problem in the industry. And so we made sure that all of our members go through a strict vetting process through our attorneys to make sure that they're trustworthy, they're responsible, and they're compliant as well, and make them stand out.
Absolutely. Well, as we say, independence, breeds more independence.
Right.
So that's great. And thank you for addressing the hemp industry too and the standards that are there. So I know we only have a little bit of time left. So I just want to, thank you so much. Any final words? I mean, one thing I'd love to say is, or have you say is, if somebody's going to go out there and try this, what would be some good advice that you'd give them?
Slow and slow.
Start low and slow. I think
and slow.
Our director of wellness, Amanda, always says that to someone. So what we mean by low is low dose, right? And slow is just try it at a very slow pace. Don't overdo it. So if you try that edible, give it some time, right?
Right.
30 minutes, 60 minutes. Maybe don't even try another bite, that night.
Try to eat before, try to eat after, experiment with it. That's what's great about cannabis as medicine is the patient's in control of their health. They're in control of their medicine.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's low and slow.
That's fantastic. Well, Ashley, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Wish you all the best, and I want you to be well.
Thank you.
And so I just want to say, if anyone else is interested in sharing their story, we'd love to hear it. Please email us at mystory@myjane.com. You can also hit our website up at myjane.com, and we encourage you to become a member and to try cannabis and make it a personal experience. And as I said to everyone and to you, be well.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to My Jane, My Story. If you want to learn more, you can join the My Jane community at myjane.com. Get instant access to our Facebook group, Facebook community, educational resources, and updates on My Jane products and special events. And for personal attention, right now, you can also pick up the phone and call 833-MY-JANE2. That's MYJANE2. And speak to your own wellness concierge, because it's time to own your wellness. Be well.